Okay. For those of you who don't know me, as Nicole said, I started in this business 42 years ago. I was 5. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you today was I started because I was a housewife. I had 2 small children. My husband was a captain, a pilot in Alitalia. He actually became the Pope's pilot, John Paul, and traveled with him all over the world. So he was away a lot, and I was home. He would do wonderful things. He would talk to so many people. They all want to go in the cockpit and they want to find out what all the buttons are about. So he was talking to politicians and sports people and actors and you name it, right? And he told me that when he spoke to these people, the mind grew. Well, at that time, I was home talking to my mother-in-law every day. So my mind had a little more difficulty growing. And anyway, I have a story here that I wanted to tell you, but I don't want to take too much of your time. I must tell you that in life, little things happen, small things. Like you read a book and it has a message, or you have a girlfriend who tells you things that just make you change your mind about things. You get married, you stop getting married, you move house, whatever. Things happen that seem, when they happen, very small and very unimportant. And then all of a sudden, you just turn around and go a completely different way. Do you know what I'm saying? Well, my husband came home one night. He had been flying from Rome to Sicily in Taormina. And in the plane, there was an orchestra. And they were going to Taormina because there's a Greek theater which is up in the mountain. And they were going to play a concert in this Greek theater. So Roland started talking to the head of the orchestra, who was very famous for playing the flute. And they got talking, became friendly. So the orchestra leader told Roland that he should go to the concert with the whole crew, which he did, right? Well, that night, the night after, he came home, and I was waiting for him in the kitchen, which is the nicest place in the house, right? So we sat down and had coffee, and then he said, look, I'm going to tell you what I've done, but when I tell you, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to sit there, close your eyes, and picture what I'm going to tell you. So here am I, sitting there with my eyes closed, and he says, okay, now imagine, we're on top of this mountain. It's a Greek theater. The seats are dug in the mountain, right? The perfume in Sicily in the summer is very strong because of the orange blossom and the lemon blossom. So he says, you're sitting there, sweet air, wonderful sun going down into the sea, the perfume of orange blossom, and and just faintly the sound of the sea slapping against the mountain. And he says, in the quiet of the night, the notes of the flute started. Wow. And then he looked at me and he said, what did you do today? So I said, well, while you were smelling orange blossoms, your son Robbie had diarrhea, right? So now, you got to understand, in that moment, in that very, very moment, I knew that something had to happen. I knew that I wanted to smell a bit of the orange blossom as well. So I said, look, I need to look for a job. Now, I don't care if it's just a few hours a day. The kids started kindergarten and went to school. I had a few hours. So he and I looked around for something for me to do. And then he got invited by a pilot to come to a meeting where they were showing the business. I must tell you, we arrived. We looked in the room, and the first thing my husband saw was the product display. So he turns to me and he says, Annamaria, I would like to remind you that it is you who is looking for a job. You know, in other words, I'm a pilot. I don't want anything to do with this thing. So anyway, the pilot forced us to go and sit in the front row. Because he said, you know, no, Captain, you want to sit at the back. Why? And Roland says, well, if they say things I don't like, I just get up and leave. And the pilot said, that's why I want you to sit in the front row. Yeah? So he dragged us. We sat there. And here's the pilot, Doreen, you're the pilot. That's me. And that's my husband, right? The guy comes in, starts writing on the board. Now, you've got to understand, we're talking 42 years ago. There's none of this stuff, right? There's a big board and a piece of chalk, and all he has to do is write the marketing plan on it to show us, and he is so bad. And he is so bad that I don't understand a word of what he says, right? So, but at the same time, I'm pretty desperate to find something to do, right? So I turn to my sponsor. I say, Claudio, look, I would like to try this business, but I don't really understand it. So are you going to help me? And he says, yeah, Annamaria, I will help you. I will train you. I will teach you everything I know. But you've got to understand, I've only been in this business 1 week. So that tells you a lot, right? It tells you he didn't know anything. I didn't understand anything. And my husband, he didn't want to know anything. So why am I telling you this? Because 42 years have gone by. I'm still here trying to understand. No, that's not true. Anyway, I came because I want to clarify something today, right now. You've heard all about NeoLife and, oh, you know, this is great and that's fantastic and blue, blue, blue. The truth of this convention is that we are here to turn the whole concept onto you. NeoLife is not the subject of this convention. You are, okay? You are the representatives of a great and wonderful country, which is Australia, which should be producing an enormous amount and will, because you are going to think about what you are going to do in this business. Now, understand it this way. The product is a tool. The marketing plan is a tool. You can use those tools to build your future, your business. So, 2 ingredients are not enough to make a large cake. Those are just 2 ingredients, and there's one missing. We have the products, we have the marketing plan. The 3rd ingredient is people who are crazy enough to believe that they can do it and want to, and take the product so they get the energy to go out and do it. You know what I'm saying? Now, last month, we had a convention in Southern Europe, and Jerry Brasfield came. And when the convention was over, he came to Rome with his wife to spend a few days. And so we had a chance to spend time together. And I was able to ask him a lot of questions that sometimes we don't have the time to do. The question I asked was this. In Italian, we have a saying which says, I don't know how you would say it in English. We say, what was born first, the chicken or the egg? You have this? How does it sound in Oh, what was born first? What came first? What came first, the chicken or the egg? So that night we're having dinner and I say, Jerry, you know, I never did ask you what came first. Now, if the chicken is the marketing plan and the egg is the product, what came first to you? Did you have a good product and you decided how to bring it onto the market? Or did you have a marketing plan and you decided to do that and found a product to fit in? And he said, well, if the chicken is the marketing plan, then the marketing plan came first. And I said, why? And he said, well, because of what I was trying to do with my life. He had worked in network marketing companies. He was very young, 19. And while doing that, he realized that he could piece together a marketing plan that would allow, and I'm using his own words, that would allow people to build a business with no money. That means that people who haven't got the courage to be entrepreneurs, who haven't got the money, who don't want to go to the bank and borrow money to build a business. You know, we have enough of those around the whole world. He said, I wanted to give women and men, fat and thin, with kids, no kids, socially up or socially down, well-educated, not educated. I wanted the people who had a dream to try and build the dream even if they didn't have any money. Now that's a plan, right? Speaking of which, one of the, well, probably the number one area in the GNLD world, in the NeoLife world, is Africa. You know, and people say, Africa, well, how can they be number one? They've got no money. Half of them don't have a house to clean. And what are they going to take? Nutrition? And you know, Africa is the number one area. And you know why? They so desperately want to build a business of their own, even though they haven't got any money. And they can do it with NeoLife, you see? So then I said, okay, so you decided that was your dream, help people build a business with no money. What happened with the product? How did you consider, how would you have developed the product? And he said, look, think about it for a minute. Who is the best client in NeoLife? So I said, I am. I am. I've taken the products for 42 years, give it to my kids, my grandchildren, I even give it to the dog, you know what I mean? It's an enormous amount of product that goes through my hands. He said, you're right. The distributors are the number one clients of NeoLife. Why? Because they know the product, they are in love with the product, and they take the product. And you know why it must be so? Why does a company choose to make the distributor the number one client? I thought about it for a minute, and I wasn't quite coming out with the answer. So he said, well, listen, our people are not sales people. Our people are accountants and nurses and teachers and kinesiotherapists and whatever, right? Housewives like you. So our people don't go out and sell anything because they're good at it. Our people go out and share something they believe in. Otherwise, they can't do it. You know, when we start building a business around the world, we have to build trust, belief that what you are giving your children, what you're giving your mother-in-law, God forbid you give her something that doesn't work. You know? So you need to make the people who begin in our business believe that they are sharing something to be proud of. So I said, well then, how did you manage to get these fantastic products? And he said, well, you take company money and you pay the scientists to come and work and develop and create, not just sign that the product is good, like so many do. Even our sports people, we have many, many sports people around the world, like Marie, they take the product. They take the product. So they speak the truth of the product. You know, they're not just paid to take the product, to talk about it. Anyway, that was a very, very important evening for me because it sort of put everything into perspective, you know? The need of a product to enable people to share it with pride and the need of the people to do the work. So what I would like to say to you today in closing the morning before we have tea is that I would like you to consider for one moment exactly what you want to get out of this business. It is the most important thing that you need to do at this convention. You need to go out of here, go to the bathroom, look at yourself in the mirror and ask the question, what do I want out of this business? Because once you know that, then we can plan how you can get it. You know? If you want just a little bit of something, if you just want to help other people get healthy, if you want to pay the mortgage at the end of the month, that gives you an inkling of how much work you're supposed to do. But I tell you what I'm looking for. I am looking for some crazy, crazy people who believe that through work they can build Australia and New Zealand. They can make these two countries appear on the NeoLife world plan as one of the leading companies in the world. That's what I need. So if any of you are really crazy, come and tell me. Thank you.